Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is my honor to introduce our first two players for the first match of Group D. To my left is a man that has appeared in WCS 5 times. This is his first time in the round of 16. He is MajOr. And to my right, a man that has qualified for the round of 16 many times, but due to visa issues, this is his first time appearing in the round of 16 physically, and he's also the first StarCraft 2 athlete to be recognized by the United States government. Please give a warm round of applause for viOLet. Gentlemen, congratulations on making it to the round of 16. MajOr, any words for your opponent before we start?
Just good luck. I hope we have good games.
Okay. Good manner from MajOr. All right. viOLet, anything you'd like to say?
Well, first we trying to say meet each other, but he just says something nice. But I will do just my own. Oh, never mind. Just good luck and let's pass together.
I like how you plan something mean, but when you get on stage, you want to say something nice. Gentlemen, best of luck to you. Let's get the map veto sorted out. Back to the commentators.
Thank you very much, Clutch, and of course, thank you very much, Yewan, earlier. Did you notice that Todd is getting better and better at this hosting thing as well? Is there anything that our Frenchie can do, Nate? Because he's a pro gamer, he's a pro caster, now he starts hosting as well. What is next?
He's good. He is. I'm actually kind of scared. I'm glad he's going. He's going to replace me at some point. He's going to learn Terran next. That's the worst part.
He is going to replace all of us, Nate. He's going to solo cast this thing. He's going to host it. He's going to observe it at the same time. Todd is like responsible for the unemployment rates going up because he's just so good at so many things at once.
Also playing too. Also playing.
Yes, winning the thing apparently. He's like congratulating himself after winning WCS America.
Hands himself the champagne bottle when he wins.
Exactly. Ask himself some really in-depth questions. Compliments himself on asking the right questions. Johan is just a miracle, man. Either way, we are getting ready for our first series of the day. I think it's going to be super fun. viOLet versus MajOr. As you guys can see, we're already entering the veto process. And MajOr is the type of Mexican to veto Frost. I did not know they existed, but apparently it happens.
I'm loving it. He's already opened the gates by saying we are not going to have the same thing every single series today. And he actually, I'm pretty sure he vetoed this in his round of 32 group as well. He's not afraid to take a stand and make the series very crazy.
Merry-Go-Round is going to be the first veto for viOLet. No shocker there, but it's also a map that some Terrans play even vetoes because they don't like it all that much. MajOr will follow it up with vetoing Altazim. That's of course a little less surprising. And a final veto, it could be Waystation if viOLet doesn't want to bother with close spawning locations, but he could also just switch things up and veto either Habitation or Overgrowth, especially with the way that Juan plays. I'm not sure if I would like to play Habitation Station against Juanito.
Yeah, I would not be surprised to see some shenanigans come out from him on that map, but, you know, Waystation, I think, is a reasonable veto, and I'm not surprised by that. Even if you can get a good spawn as Zerg against Terran on that map, why would you want to chance it? We saw how, like, Pol actually dismantled on that map when he was given that close spawn distance. Yeah. So, not surprising. I think this is a good map layout, and, you know, despite Frost being vetoed, it's still a pretty standard setup. You know, Overgrowth, Habitation Station, and King Sejong, all pretty good for this matchup.
Yeah, we started off crazy, but we ended up in relatively normal waters over here. Second map, Habitation, I definitely think is a map where I see chances for Juanito, and I really like what Clutch brought up as well. Juan has played in WCS America Premier League pretty much every single season, and he always came so close to make it to the round of 16, but he never went all the way. I often fell one map short, like 3 seasons in a row. Won his first series, then like went 1-0 in like his final series, and it still fell short. This is the first time that he's here. He's been playing some pretty excellent StarCraft lately, and this is a doable group. Yes, of course, you have that monster Tasia there. That's really scary. But for once, he's not playing him first. So, you know, if he defeats him one time today, it probably is in the series where it's going to matter the most.
Yeah, that would be a really incredible match to see. The ultimate rematch of the round of 32 series that has basically been given everybody hope after the first time it occurs, and then smitten down that hope afterwards. So this group has that really cool dynamic, and that, like I said, I still think that this match, this best of 3, really could go either way. I feel reluctant to give viOLet the edge as much as I think his results recently probably speak to him having an edge. But I think I have hope in MajOr.
Is there, like, I mean, you're quite familiar with MajOr. You're a Terran player. MajOr is not like one of the most active streamers out there, but he definitely fires up his stream once in a blue moon, and we're all being treated with some nice Terran play. And, you know, often Terran players are like, all right, he's a bio player, he's a mech player. Some of them, you know, that they switch it up every once in a while. I feel MajOr is like the most unpredictable out of all of them out there. Like, he can do everything, and he does everything.
Yeah, it's MajOr likes to stay on the cutting edge, really. You know, I think a lot of players, a lot of commentators, we describe him as he's that guy that looks into what his opponent will, like what the Koreans are doing, and just tries to emulate that as best as possible. viOLet, on the other hand, he can be a bit crazy.
Definitely
Himself.
No, I couldn't agree more. viOLet has never been your super standard Zerg either. He's always been looking to exploit his own little openings. He does crazy bailing attacks in phases in the game where you really don't expect him to do it. In the old days, and that's something you still see in his playstyle now, every once in a while as he's getting ready to up into this match. Looks incredibly buffed and handsome, of course. But he's always been that guy that kind of does things that we, in general, say is not very good for Zerg. You know, viOLet, why would you make 22 Zerglings right now? That's really going to set you pretty far behind. But he always finds a way to hang in there and even get an advantage. And most of the time, get value out of those units as well.
Yeah, and he's certainly good at mixing it up aside, as you mentioned, just from being able to be aggressive. He's not afraid to bust out the really heavily committed, aggressive builds, right? We've seen time and time again, and both players have their headsets on. I can talk about these things. The roaches, man, the roaches. Are we going to see roaches today? We did not see any yesterday.
Nate? What happened yesterday is like Wednesday, or what was yesterday? Tuesday, the 1st of July. Will this go down as like the anti-roach day? Because we casted 5 TVZ series in a row and not a single roach was produced. That has to be some sort of a record. That is an ESPN stat right there, guys.
I think, you know what? I'm not surprised that also coincides with no Zergs getting out of that group.
That is right. Well, we've seen viOLet play quite a bit over the last 2 weeks. We had the pleasure of casting a lot of his games at the Red Bull Battlegrounds just 2 weeks ago, and we also had the pleasure of seeing him quite a bit at MLG Anaheim, where he had a fantastic run and again impressed a lot of people. viOLet is always that Zerg that we know he's good, but you don't expect him to be the best Zerg in the world, and then suddenly he's there again in the winner bracket final of an MLG Anaheim. In the end, he finished third, but he came incredibly close, even took one map off Trap and got so close to winning game 2 against Trap as well. You know, if a few things would have gone different for him in that game and Altazim, perhaps we're looking at a different MLG champion. We're looking at viOLet as an MLG champ, because if we have to believe the CSN agency, and of course we will do that, viOLet and Polt trade series back and forth at any given day. Sometimes Polt 4-0s viOLet, but on another day you'll see viOLet 4-0 Polt. He's very good, and of course viOLet has to feel confident about his CVT, living with someone like Polt and being able to play him on any given moment.
Yeah, this is going to be an exciting match no matter which way it goes. And as you guys can see, we are loaded in. These players begin spamming them hotkeys. We're on Overgrowth to kick off the final group of the round of 16. And that first player of this group, in the bottom left in blue, representing the CSA agency, it is viOLet. I love the slow clap. It's hard not to get hyped.
I'm feeling it for sure. And of course, in the right top side of Overgrowth, he just joined Root Gaming for the 4th time in his career. We all love him, we all adore him. Hailing from Mexico, it is MajOr.
Good old MajOr. And like we said, you know, he likes to emulate whatever he thinks the best Korean players in the world are doing. He usually goes along with it. And I would have said a couple of months ago that included a good amount of mech play, but I'd actually be surprised if he busted that out. He's kind of shied away from it recently. And I think we should get a pretty standard setup from him. I don't think anything too crazy. Maybe Gasless, as that's been popping up, but Reaper is still a really good option.
But I think on a map like Habitation Station, if he's going to do it once, I'm kind of feeling that on a map like Habitation that he might bust it out, might try to do something a little different. I'm not expecting him to do it on Overgrowth or King Sejong. I just don't think he's going to be able to get away with it, especially because viOLet has really stepped up his game as well from the old viOLet that we remember from the days when he was successful. After that, he fell off a little bit, and we wondered, is viOLet ever going to be back playing on Premier stages? Well, he has come back, and he's been playing really well. He impressed me so much with his army move movement in a couple of the games at the Battlegrounds and also in some of the games of MajOr. He just became a much smarter player than he already was. So it's going to be really hard to make Mac work against someone as smart and as active as viOLet. But on a small map like Habitation Station, it doesn't really matter what you try as a Zerg. Often you'll still be forced to take fights that you're not too sure about.
Yeah, there's just so many different ways that this could play out, and since we already know that violet's good enough to play Roach Hydra, even against with Bio, you'd have to imagine he's experienced enough using it against Mech. And of course, thank you guys throwing your tweets out, hashtag WCS. Rob Brooks13 hitting us up. He likes the studio. Unlimited Red Bull. It's a good reason to come down here.
Hell yeah. What's better than Red Bull?
And StarCraft.
Not a whole lot of things, Nate.
Not a whole lot of things, Roddy.
They do go very well together. The other day, we saw Bomber. Bomber has like 74 cans of Red Bull currently stacked up in my room. And he did advance to the round of 8, Nate. So that means that these things do go very well together.
That's our ESPN stat. Bomber has not advanced to the round of 8 while having 70 cans of Red Bull.
And staying at Roddy's house. It's definitely not the vibes from my presence, because my room is used to losing ladder points, not gaining them. Anyway, we see the first Reaper from MajOr making their way across the map. He's going to start picking away at these drones. Of course, no drones should fall, but it's very nice if he's able to get one. But viOLet, being as good as he is, whoa, that got close. Well, close but no cigar.
Yeah, he's trying. I mean, it's the usual back and forth, and MajOr's build will give him a really good opportunity to get some damage done because of the number of Reapers he's producing. He's going up to 3. This isn't, this is more on the aggressive end of the spectrum when we look at, can we compare it to a player like Bomber, who played just either 1 Reaper or no Reapers at all. But MajOr has a chance now. He wants to get as much damage on these Queens as possible. He wants to trade away that Reaper health because, man, it regenerates so much faster than Zerg units that, if he can kill 1 or 2 Queens, that's a really big victory in the early game for a Terran.
Yep, and also I wonder if he's going to play with fire a little bit, like keep those Reapers alive a few seconds longer than possible, because not a whole lot of Zergs, by the time the speed finishes up, actually produce a lot of Zerglings.
And he doesn't see that MajOr started the 3rd command center behind this, so viOLet needs to be careful. There's lots of Terrans, and if MajOr follows the top Terran players, you might see some Hellbats, but does manage to pick up a drone, not bad.
A drone is better than no drone, Nate.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
I think MajOr will take it as well. Like you mentioned, the Overlord did not spot that command center yet. It's actually kind of unreal how he somehow did not able to see it yet with 2 Overlords that were very close to the edge. But of course, viOLet knows MajOr as well. These 2 players probably played against each other a lot on the ladder, as both of them are true ladder monsters. We see Speed is about to finish up. But for now, it's nothing but drones on the production tab. Of course, you just want to get Speed in case the Terran never goes home with his Reapers. Then if you produce Zerglings, you can actually kill them. But just because Speed finishes up doesn't mean you want to make a crazy amount of Zerglings immediately, because most of the time Terran players will just go home. And those Zerglings could have been drones, so why wouldn't you want them to be drones, Nate? That makes no sense.
Yeah, the thing is,
drones.
MajOr's got good Hellion control. And the most important thing about that 3rd command center that we mentioned is MajOr, if he was going for a Hellbat build, viOLet's not 100% certain of what's coming his way yet because he didn't get a scout on the main base. He doesn't know if there's a 2-gas setup. So he's playing defensively, and the Reapers kind of give you an idea into what the build is. But MajOr's still, he is just threatening enough that I would, as a Zerg player, you wouldn't be surprised if he was still finding a way to get in some form of early aggression.
Exactly. Double eBay being dropped right now in the main base of MajOr, and viOLet did just fire up 16 links. So right now MajOr's going to have to be careful. Wants to make sure that he won't get surrounded with these Hellions. Don't want to lose them without them really serving their purpose. It's just going to be the good old 6 Hellions and 3 Reapers, and from this point on it's all going to come down to control. If MajOr is careful with these units, he can definitely pick up a lot of Zerglings, and of course what he would love to what he would love to see happen is that viOLet gets the idea that he can actually surround these units, but then suddenly realizes he doesn't have enough units, and all of these Zerglings will fall. This is like the good old dance in TVZ, and who's going to get the better end of this little dance? I'm not a very good dancer, Nate.
I haven't seen yet. You gotta have confidence, Roddy.
Oh, I do.
So these Zerglings are going to go for a counterattack. I really like this, but MajOr, he's not the kind of player to, make a slip up when you're getting your defensive setup going. So
wow, the bunker does actually fall, though. I mean, with the SCVs and these Marines over here, he should be fine. At the same time, on the other side of the map, I mean, yes, he lost a couple of SCVs here, but on the other side of the map, he picked off a lot of Zerglings. If we take a look at the units lost resource tab, we can see that 37 units have already fallen, and all of them have fallen in like the last 5 seconds of this game. He shouldn't lose any Hellions over here. I don't think this was all that bad, you know. Yeah, a couple of SCVs did go down, but in the end of the day, we're looking at a triple orbital build. Our Zerg play was only between like 45 and 55 drones, made a lot of Zerglings, and these Reapers and Hellions are still alive, so that's definitely frustrating.
Yeah, I'd say this is still an okay position as Major. When you open 3 command centers, you don't want to lose those workers. If he was going to have an economic lead, maybe he doesn't have that anymore, but it'll stay. It's relatively even.
Yeah.
Stim is done.
Layer is even quite late as well. Of course, viOLet
Yeah.
is not like who saw we yesterday? Was it Toot Ming who just kept kind of who was the Zerg that kept rushing up to Spire with almost like no units?
It was a couple groups ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, you're
I
right.
feel I remember
Was it
this,
Czech?
but I can't remember
No.
exactly who it was.
Maybe it was Czech. I don't know. We are casting way too much StarCraft right now. Either way, this Overlord will fall, but viOLet is a different type of Zerg. He doesn't really like try to pump out a bunch of Mutalisks on like 50 workers and then eventually saturate more and more bases. He makes a lot of Zerglings, makes a lot of Banelings, and as soon as he feels satisfied, as soon as he feels safe, that's when he gets the Spire, and that's when he starts pumping out Mutalisks. But he doesn't rush to it, so he will still have quite some units to work with.
Yeah, I think this is still a pretty good spot for both players. Like you said, that Spire is very late, which is nice for Major because it means that as these 2 medevacs come out, if he gets, as faster he gets aggressive, the more time he has to abuse the lack of anti-air. So those medevacs can swoop in, pick off a few drones, maybe Zerglings, maybe even a Queen, and then jump right out without any threat of being chased. But we've seen viOLet do these little plays quite often, and I always like to see these. But Major's Hellion positioning, if he's not, if he catches him away, it could do a lot
I feel
of
the
damage.
next 45 seconds are going to be pretty damn important in this game. viOLet's going to lose 2 more Overlords in the middle of the map. That's a little frustrating. Here do come these few Banelings. They're going to try to wiggle in. Major is focus firing them with the Marines that are stuck in the bunker and actually picks up all of these Banelings. So that's not all that bad. But there are a lot of Zerglings and there are a bunch of defensive Banelings as well. Baneling speed is not ready yet, but it's more than halfway done. And I think that viOLet is going to be okay over here unless Major pulls out a rabbit out of his head.
Yeah,
Well,
nice Baneling detonation hits a lot of those Marines. viOLet still has a good chunk of Banelings left. And since he saturated his third base,
Fourth base.
yeah, since he saturated his third base, unless Major can cancel this fourth, I like viOLet's position because he hasn't lost any economy yet.
Major is heading in the right direction and off creep. I'm not sure if viOLet wants to engage this with just Zerglings and Banelings. He's going to try to keep this hatchery alive for now. Helbets are going to try to do some work on these Banelings. Will enough Marines survive? No, unfortunately not for Major, so he's forced to pick up these Marines. And for now, viOLet will secure that fourth base. Good call there by viOLet, because I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to pull that one off.
Yeah, it's a scary defense. The thing is, as Major, you don't want to commit yourself too far. Now the Mutalisks are coming out. Things are going to get a little bit more difficult for Major trying to make this pressure work. But we've seen players like Polt do this. He wants to keep that army on the right side. He does not want to go home because he's also got these medevacs moving in. And these, this is where viOLet has to, you have to play ball. If you get pulled too far to the left side, you lose your fourth base. If you commit too hard, you lose all your drones in your main, and it gets really scary really fast. Here come the Marines.
It's really interesting to watch viOLet's point of view as he's splitting up his units pretty okay so far. Left a couple of Banelings behind on the right bottom side of the map, and that's going to be enough for now. And at the same time, he sent a lot of Zerglings to the main base, so he will always also be able to usher out this drop. Very good defense there by viOLet. That wasn't easy at all. He's even going to end up picking up that medevac as well. Very well done. viOLet is definitely on the money so far with his defense.
Yeah, this has been a very solid game by viOLet without having to really get crazy aggressive. Those few pokes he made in the early game pretty much forced Major into a close enough map that Major can't sit back. He has to try to do harass. He has to try to do all the things that make a good Terran good against Zerg players. But viOLet is not showing any weaknesses. The only thing I will say, did viOLet forget his +2? His +2 upgrades in general very late. Major's about to finish his +2. This gives him a really nice opportunity. Are there some Widow Mines still plugged in the ground here? That is annoying. He needs to get Overlord speed.
Okay, he doesn't have an Overlord. He's going to pick up one of them. This is definitely a scary push. Right now there are only 6 Banelings, a lot more on the production tab. But it's actually kind of scary. Even with 12 Banelings, I'm a little bit worried there for viOLet. As army supply, Major has a minor lead. So this won't be easy. Of course, as soon as viOLet is able to saturate that fourth base, life will be a lot more beautiful for him. Another drop is heading towards the main base though, and this time there are another whole lot of units in position for viOLet, who did end up losing 8 drones by the way in that previous attack. I thought he didn't really lose anything at all. He lost 8 and now he's going to lose a few more, and this is actually very nice for Major. This is what you're looking for as a Terran player.
Yeah, and he also used this time to clear up a good amount of the creep towards the center of the map, and as that recedes away from the tower, he still has a Marine on the left side, and The medevac goes the right direction now to allow him to unload a few more of the marine. Well, I guess medevac gets picked off anyway.
But that
he tried.
army on the right side of the map is massive for MajOr. He's currently at 118 supply against only 91. viOLet is going to go in. He does have a lot of banelings, and those are massive connections. Wow, viOLet just went in for it immediately, saw a window, saw an opportunity there, and he just jumped on it. But he did forget about one Widow Mine in his main base, and that could actually be kind of annoying. As this Widow Mine is about to shoot, well, reasonable.
Man, get something. You know, this MajOr making that push into the dark alleyway, I'd say, of overgrowth it's always difficult because it's so easy to get surrounded as a Terran. But so many of these forces are on the right side. There are some units left here to deal with this next drop,
but
though.
not that many, and Banelings are not ready yet, so I'm not sure if this is going to be enough. viOLet's going to have to send over more. He's going to send his Mutalisk instead. He has 19 already, by the way. viOLet is doing a really good job in trying to keep his Mutalisk production up. Banelings will take out that Marauder, and what a champ, soaked up that final shot. And once more, a few drones will fall. You know, this is definitely not poor harassment by MajOr. He's definitely getting some work done over here.
Yeah, I'm really liking this so far because he's managed to maintain his macro. He's still close to maxed out. His upgrade advantage is about to go away, though, as the 2-2 comes to a finish for viOLet, But
viOLet has been having a hard time. Like, okay, that's a very nice snipe there for viOLet. But overall, viOLet has been forced to produce a lot of units. So it's not like viOLet already has access to Hive or 3-3 upgrades. When 3-3 is ready for MajOr, that's going to be really nice for him. And he's setting himself up pretty good in this little hallway, like you like to mention it, Nate. Plenty of banelings on the way. But it will all come down to the engagement. MajOr with 133 army supply against 93 currently. If the splits are good enough, this is definitely something that I think he could potentially work with.
yeah, it's really tricky because the creep on the high ground. Oh, that's a lot of changelings. He's moving over here, and actually, well, the nice thing is you'll see the army moving over towards the left side, or at least he should. With this many changelings, you'd hope. At Overlord speed is still pretty late, but I think viOLet's in an okay spot. It's actually just like so many changelings, it's hard to kill all of them.
I mean, of course, a 4-base Zerg is always terrifying, but still no Hive yet. 3-3 is more than halfway done. And above
MajOr's
all,
got his fourth.
Yeah, MajOr's got his fourth. He's throwing down missile turret left and right now, and he's going to morph it into a planetary fortress. I think it's going to be really hard for viOLet to break that fourth base. MajOr's cleaning out creep as well. Of course, has to be careful, doesn't want to engage on creep. But I think if MajOr should just sit back now and wait for his 3-3 to finish up. And from that point on, if he wins one fight, or even if he trades even, he's going to be way ahead.
Yeah, I like this. That drop in the bottom right as the army moves towards the left side. viOLet has to send everything back to this base in case he splits off just the Mutalisk.
He's going to go for the army instead.
Try to come in and fight this force, but MajOr, he's not having it. He's going to back up and picks off that base with a medevac going on the left side. And you said it already, with that fourth base, MajOr's going to start to rack up the bank.
Yep, right now, I mean, viOLet still has an incredibly scary army with a lot of banelings, but I think that viOLet's going to be forced to counterattack soon and do something about this fourth base. The Mutalisk will take care of this one drop in the main base. Very entertaining back and forth game so far, where MajOr is definitely holding his ground against one of the best Zerg players out there, so that's already a joy to watch.
Yeah, this game is still crazy close, but I like the base count being even for the Terran player at this point. He's killing a few Mutalisks, he's sniped hatcheries. Yeah, that fourth base has to be rebuilt. The Hive has just begun. 3-3 is finishing, and MajOr's getting those lockdown upgrades. High-sec auto-tracking. I expect to see building armor once +3 armor is complete. And this is MajOr rounding out everything that he needs. And this next push from him is just getting scarier and scarier.
Yep, 10 Widow Mines in the mix. There are currently 33 banelings, and that is a lot, but that's also not like an amount that you can't deal with, because how often do we see 55, 60 banelings even? And then some Terran players still manage to stay alive. Another drop heading towards the main base, but this time there are a few Zerglings and a Spore Crawler there to take care of it. So viOLet doesn't have to pull his units out of position. MajOr standing over another command center. I have no idea where he even got the money from, and this time he's going to land it at the gold. MajOr is playing some really sick TVZ over here, Nate.
Yeah, he's adding a lot of command centers. He's really playing for the late game here, Roddy. And I think the most important thing is he doesn't overextend himself too much, because if viOLet can gain some momentum after big fight, cancels that left side hatchery too. If viOLet can gain some momentum, that's when things get very difficult for the Terran, because that creep is getting closer to that fifth. But man, if all these orbital commands come up and MajOr's just allowed to get everything rolling along like this is such a small map that eventually, if he's just cost effective, he could starve viOLet out.
viOLet is definitely pretty rich, and that is something that he has going for himself. But we all know one bad fight as a Zerg, you make a bunch of Mutalisks, morph a bunch of Zerglings into banelings, and that bank is gone. He's dropping an Ultralisk Cavern now, which I'm not even sure if that's the right call. Of course, Ultras is super awesome, but you need money for that as well. Like 1 or 2 Ultras often won't make the difference, but we'll see how it goes. Mutalisk is going to try to fly in over here at this gold base, but there are plenty of missile turrets to at least pick off a few.
Yeah, once building armor is done, it'll be a lot nicer, since viOLet's +1 attack for those Mutalisks is quite late. But, you know, you really need +2 to get through the building armor. And these medevacs are going to pull him back. As you said, the command centers are finishing up. 3-3, adrenal glands. And you make a really good point as the Mutalisks catch this drop on the left side. There's also something poking on the bottom right. So he kills this 5th base, but man, there's so much action going on. I can't even get to my point. Major's all over the place with these forces.
Yep, still keeping this drop alive as well. viOLet is rolling around with roughly 50 banelings. He's making 5 Ultralisk now. That is pretty much most of the gas that he has. Of course, main and natural are going to run very thin. The extractors will be mined out in roughly 300 or 400 gas. You know, I really feel that viOLet is putting most of his eggs in one basket, and he wants to absolutely demolish Major in the big engagement, and from that point on just straight up roll through and win the game. Because if this game keeps going on and on, it seems like Major's gonna have way more endurance with the way that he's playing this game than viOLet has.
Yeah, so the thing is, you mentioned Ultralisks coming out of the map. A lot of Terran players like to mix in plenty of Marauders. Major has a good number of Marauders.
Yep.
12, now he's going up to 14. Taking this fight could make things a bit crazy.
Yes.
It's mostly Banelings, so every unit that dies is going to be very expensive for viOLet, but with these Ultralisks coming out now, Major, it all depends what is he going to put his resources in. Still just 2 Marauders at a time and lots of Marines. His Widow Mine count sitting 10. I'd say that's pretty nice so far. They seem to be spread out really well across the map too.
Yeah, a lot of Banelings did fall there because we were looking at 46, now it's just 21. But still, viOLet still has money in the bank, and now we do it. The next fight there will be 5-6 Ultras. He's even morphing a Great Aspire, by the way, and that of course could cause a lot of troubles for Major, as I don't think we have any additional starports out there. I believe it's just a single starport. Let me double check that real quick. Yes.
Yeah.
So far it's still single starport, so that could cause a lot of trouble, but we'll see how this one goes.
Yeah, gonna come up here and try to fight. The Ultralisks show their ugly faces, and now look at the Widow Mine shot actually helps a little bit against Major, but man, kiting Ultralisks off creep with Marauders. Major could do this all day, just needs to make sure he doesn't take too many more rough Baneling connections as he gets backed up further and further.
Yeah, reinforcements have arrived. Few Banelings getting really juicy connections over there though, but there are still a few Ultras. The Ultras going in very deep now, by the way. The Mutalisks are making their way over as well, but I think this is the moment where Major can kill all of these Ultras. I think viOLet is slightly overextending over here, as most of his Banelings are gone. And if he ends up losing those Ultras, look at that army, it's stimming like hell. And now we have Corruptors on the way. Mutalisk is still scary. How many do we have? 16. viOLet actually doing a good job there, getting out with a couple of these Ultras, because how often don't you see Zerg players just dunk it all the way in and end up losing their Ultras?
Yeah, this has been a really, really impressive play so far. And as you said, man, those Ultralisks, when they are off creep, they're pretty bad once you have enough Marauders on the map.
I feel like you're really mean towards the Ultras, by the way, because you always refer to them, show their ugly faces. Why the hate, Nate?
Because before
The
everyone
Ultras
started,
can be very cuddly too. They also need some love.
before everybody started building Marauders in their armies by default, I died to a lot of Ultralisks.
Yeah, but
man.
it doesn't-
I'm not a fan of them.
That doesn't have to do anything with their appearance. I think they look adorable.
Well, you wouldn't say that if you were the Viking that landed in front of it in the hot cinematic.
That's true. Big drop in the main base right now. 2 medevacs full of units. Sniping a couple of these tech builders could be very nice, as there are a few Banelings out there. But viOLet does not have enough units to take care of this. I'm not sure what Major is going to go for. He's going to pick up the spawning pool. Well, that's always a nice little pickup.
Yeah, this would be nice. Transfuses go down, but that's not quite enough. Has to rebuild that, and suddenly...
We need starports though. Like, Major is still on 1 starport, and there are 10 Ultras now. And if you talk about ugly faces, Nate, now with an Ultra, I feel it. They do show their ugly faces, and that is the face you don't want to see if you're on 1 starport.
Yeah, so here's the thing. These Broodlords are very slow. Major, I think at this point, he can just load up a bunch of medevacs and go towards the main base. Because...
Yeah, there is almost nothing there. There's like 14 Mutalisk, 32 Zerglings, 23 Banelings, and 2 Ultras, but most of them are guarding this gold base. So I totally agree with you. If a bunch of bio units will be dropped in the main base now, it's not like those Broodlords are going to help defending your main.
Yeah, I mean, Major at this point just needs to start stretching out this slow army, and it's nice that he actually still has so many Banelings and Mutalisks, because those are the best way you can deal with this. Like, once these medevacs die, this is all just to buy time, but there's still only 1 starport, which makes things tricky. And these Marines, now they're killing the Mutalisks. This is nice, because look at how far these Broodlords have to come back. Suddenly now they have to cross across the map again. The Mutalisks actually helping to kill that hive. Does not want to lose that. These Banelings moving up. The Marauders could kill these Ultras pretty easily.
Transfuse as well. There is Transfuse available. The Queen is dropping a couple of Transfuses on the hive. The hive will survive. With just, oh my god, it just only died to what?
There were still Zerglings on it.
No, the Zerglings killed the hive?
Traitors.
Oh my god.
That's a side disruptor play right there, man. They didn't know what they were doing.
I saw the Mutalisk attacking the hive, but I didn't know that. Well, that's funny.
5 more Ultralisks are on the way. So this is viOLet bouncing between the compositions. He's like, okay, Major's probably added on starports. He's probably built a bunch of Vikings. Thing is, Major doesn't actually need a crazy number of Vikings if there's no infestors on the map.
Just like 8 or something, 8 or 10. But I really would love to see just one more starport with a bunch of Marines dealing with these Mulisks for now. As long as viOLet is not mining up this base, that's of course already great news for Major. Vikings will be able to unleash a couple of these shots here. Still just a single starport for Major.
Yeah, this is still tricky because if the Vikings fight from just far enough away, the Mutalisks can't get close. Otherwise, the Widow Mines will detonate on them. This is really nice because the Ultra's coming from the side too, so they can help push this bio. Both directions trying to pincer on these Marines, loads up to run away. And without Corruptors, without Infestors, he can retreat for a little while, but he's right up at his fourth base, and there's still a lot of resources here that need to be defended.
Yep, but I don't think that this planetary is going to die. There are missile turrets over here. There is a planetary fortress. This is going pretty well, I feel, for Major, as a few Ultras will fall. A few Banelings roll in, though, and Banelings actually connect with these SUVs. That make things a little bit harder. I really love how viOLet is still making Mutalisks now. I think that's very smart, as he's realizing that he needs to take care of these Vikings. And as long as he takes care of the Vikings, the Broodlords are not going to die. Man, it was so smart. I don't even know where those Banelings came from, but those Banelings were definitely game changers over there.
Yeah, this has been such smooth play from viOLet, and every Broodlord that dies at this point is so valuable because the bases are starting to get low. Both players have mined out their first 3.
But look
the
at that.
fourth bases are getting
look at the
dry.
left top side of the map. Just look at it. It's
I'm
gross.
sure. Is there a mule hammer?
Let's take a look. No. Hate it.
How many mules we got here? How many are on this base is what I need to know right now. There are 8 mules
That's
and
perfect.
something like 30 SCVs. That's great.
You know that mules can overmine SCVs, but the mule actually can't overmine another mule. So like 8 mules is like the magic number.
Let's get that patch.
No, I do not want to see mules on mules. That's like Rex on Rex.
Except more beautiful. Gonna kill the rocks in the center of the map. So the army composition for viOLet he's actually been really good at keeping these transitions going along because you need Marauders to deal with the Ultralisks. Marauders are not good versus Broodlords, Roddy. And you need the Mutalisks to deal with the Vikings. So he's really making sure that Major has a very difficult to reach composition to deal with this. And all these 2 medevacs getting caught. That's
actually
rough.
you know what I'm a little bit worried about is that Major is mining out his side of the map pretty rapidly. This is a great engagement so far. Vikings getting a couple of good shots off on most of these Ultras. The Mutas are still not here. I'm not sure where they are, but the Queens are doing a really good job in keeping these Broodlords alive a little while longer. This is a pretty costly engagement though for Major.
Yeah, losing all of his Vikings hurts, but once he kills these Ultralisks, viOLet does not have the bank to rebuild too many more of them. Just 3 more in the production tab. And these Mutas eating some shots from these Widow Mines.
The Ultras just like kind of left the rest of the party
Went
behind.
for a walk.
Yeah.
A stroll.
A nice stroll on Overgrowth. Nothing wrong with that.
Into the Terran base, eat a few Marines, die to some Marauders.
Either way, during all this, Major losing this base, this is a big problem because of course Major's main natural turret and even the gold are all empty. So right now, yes, he does drop a lot of mules at that one base, but that is his only base. This has been a very entertaining back and forth game so far, but there are way more resources left on viOLet's side of the map than there are of Major. Major, of course, doing a fantastic job in this fight, and he might actually be able to get close to these Broodlords, but he has to be careful because he's on basically one mining base.
And his Marines are quite low. He's been stimming very heavily. If he can get under these Broodlords, that'd be nice, but the next couple Ultralisks come in. viOLet is not allowing Major to get on top of this army. These guys seem like perfectly evenly matched at this point.
The Ultras will finally fall, though. Enough Marines will survive this fight, and the Mutalisks are going to fall as well. Look at how low the HP that army is, but it's enough for now. Supply is 128 against 114.
I'm really...
what an amazing game of StarCraft 2 this has
I'm really
been
worried
so far.
because there's so many Widow Mines still on the map. If he retreats, if he fly... Imagine if these Broodlords fly over these Mutas. If he retreats just a little bit, this could be disastrous. Oh, man. And he still has all the other ones. I think a Widow Mine actually killed a Broodlord earlier. Just not a typical thing to see happen.
There are just like 10 Widow
The
Mines.
range difference is extreme between the two.
He could actually like unborrow them and run them all below the Broodlords.
Oh. Thing is, he still doesn't... Okay, now the Overseers are here. Oh, well, he tried. Kills some Zerglings. Every unit he kills at this point is very, very important because neither of these players can remax.
Yeah, but Mage has to be very careful that he doesn't like have too much unanswered DPS because the Queens are doing a really good job and just like healing up these Broodlords. And every unit that Major loses right now is a pretty painful one because once more Major is pretty much mined out on his side of the map, other than the left top side. He is dropping the main base again. He's still up in army supply, but he's having a really hard time picking up these units. And we have to give a big compliment to viOLet, because it's not easy to control those slow Broodlords. Yes, in a fight, when you want to fight, of course you can have the time of your life, but when you are being forced to run around, go back and go forward, we all know how easy it is to forget about a queen, forget about a bunch of Broodlords, and suddenly they all die. But viOLet has done a phenomenal job in controlling this slow army, as silly as that sounds.
Yeah, this has been, I have to say, it's been really well between the two of them. These Ultralisks come up, they need their supporting units though. They need some Zerglings, some Banelings, and more Ultras, more Mutalisks being made. The Mutalisk count has actually, all of them were killed. There are only 3 Mutalisks now on the map that have just came out. So the drop play, I still like it. And you make a very good point. Major is running very low on resources on his side of the map. viOLet still has at least this one extra base in the bottom left that he hasn't touched yet.
Few Banelings getting pretty close to those Marines and Marauders, but great splits there by Major, also using hold position as soon as the fight was over, and he basically said, come at me, and of course viOLet doesn't want to do that. viOLet's going to morph a few more Banelings, as the Ultras are fantastic, but he needs a few Banelings in the mix as well. But Major is completely okay with just guarding the Xel'Naga Watchtower and keeping viOLet away from that 2 o'clock position base.
Yeah, the Ultralists are coming up now, the Broodlords, bringing those Broodlings to help against this, and these medevacs are really nice. He can't afford to lose a lot more units because there's not too much money left on this map. Major needs to start thinking about the end-to-end game.
Yeah, but like viOLet has to be very careful here as well. Bane is getting picked off. One Ultra gets a little bit ahead of the party. Broodlords are suddenly exposed. One Broodlord is not going to fall yet. Is there a Viking in this mix? He should just let that Viking fight. There's no anti-air. That Viking can just right-click on these Ultras now. Viking should not be moving alongside with those bio units.
Yeah, it's, you know, Major's just trying to pull everything back. He knows if these Ultras get on, these Marines are all so low. 1 or 2 swipes from these Ultralisks will kill pretty much his whole army.
That Viking could have killed all of these Broodlords by now, and that would make Major's life so much easier. He's stepping forward. All of these Marines are like 10 HP away from dying, but there are only 2 Ultras left. Come on, Viking is on follow. No, there we go.
Go, Viking!
Go! Tom Cruise!
Do it!
He's back! Put on the shades, aviator glasses right now. Someone play the theme song. This is awesome, Nate.
This is actually this Viking. This may be we talk about Vikings killing overlords. This may be the single most, like literally single most impactful Viking that we've seen in StarCraft for a long time.
Alright, and now this is Major's moment. He doesn't have to worry about those silly Broodlords anymore. There are 9 Banelings in the mix, a lot of Zerglings, but Zerglings should not be enough. Of course, those that 1 Ultra, or 2 Ultras actually. 1 Ultra is almost going to pick up. Look at these Marauders taking one for the team like true champions they are. Major is definitely dwindling, but he still has a minor army supply lead. I think he can do this, Nate. I really think he can.
Man, this is really crazy because right now he's killing bases that don't have any resources. So Major can afford to actually give some room here.
All right, there are still a lot more Banelings though. A few more Marauders need to take another one for the team. The splits are going to have to be phenomenal. But Major is up 20 army supply. viOLet is...
this planetary fortress, you know, the resources that he gives to kill this base, I'm not even sure if that's worth it because viOLet can't really replace what he just lost here.
Exactly, and he's also going to lose now the Zerglings. He should definitely end up losing that 1 Ultralisk. And I'm very worried for the counterattack now for viOLet. I don't think that he should be able to deal with a counterattack. The only thing that perhaps is going to stop Major is the creep spread, because viOLet has done a really good job despite losing creep tumors over and over and over again. He's been replacing them with the queens that he had active, so he's been doing a phenomenal job. viOLet realizing that he's very poor, so but he does have quite a bit of gas, so he's like, you know what, I should get the Infestors. Good unit.
Investing in Infestors is not a bad idea at this stage of the game. with the way that the creep spread is, Major, like, yeah, he has a couple of bases left that he can still mine. He has orbital commands, but he doesn't have a lot of SCVs. So dropping scans to clear this creep, not something that you want to do, especially as these Zerglings continue to harass. He needs every single mule that he can get.
There are a bunch of Widow Mines over there. Getting a couple of really good shots off as well. Leave the Marauder. I want to see the Marauder soak up 6 Banelings.
I can't believe this is the first game that we've had today. This is amazing.
This is the best game I think that we had so far in WCS America Premier League round of 16, and this is just the beginning of the day, and it's not even Tasia playing, Nate.
No, you'd almost think
it is. Yeah, Tasia might be double checking that monitor again. Man, the Terran is good. You sure, guys? It's not me. It's like, yes, Tasia. It's not you.
The Infestors are coming out. And this is the part we say Major's played really well, but 1 or 2 fungals on these Marines if clumped up, and those Ultras and Banelings can give them all a big hug.
I don't think that viOLet can attack into Major anymore. I really feel that for now viOLet's going to have to hang in there, try to get a few more Ultras out. Yes, he has 17 Banelings and 3 Ultras and 6 Infestors, but he is down 35 army supply, and that is a lot. In this phase in the game, in such a unique way that this game is played out, that is a lot of units.
Yeah, I think... the other thing that kind of stinks for Major is he wants to defend that base on the right side, so he's kind of keeping his army in that side, but there's no more resources on the right side of the map for the Zerg player. And Major I'd actually still like to see him float one of his command centers to the top left, because a couple Zerglings are going to
Yeah.
go check on that anyway.
He
but
can eventually do that. The one that's he's actually building SCVs now, which I think is very funny.
I'm not sure. This
Yeah.
might be the one of those few times in the game where I'm like, I don't know if actually investing
Well, yeah,
in SCVs is
he only
worth it
has
as
11,
much.
so I guess it doesn't hurt too much.
Yes.
Either
Yeah,
way,
he
there's
only
going
has
to
2
be
orbitals.
this little drop. What a good little hit squad over here. The 3 very important buildings over here. The Ultralisk Cavern is going to take quite some damage, and it will fall. So great snipe there, and he's also going to be able to get out of it. Dropping is going to be so awesome for Major now, because other than Infestors, there is nothing that's going to keep these medevacs in place. We're going to chase them down.
Yep, this
And
is really nice. This is where Major can start to pick him apart. Oh, he's moving on the right side.
Oh.
Hey, Widowmine hits some of these Banelings. Oh, no fungals yet. Kills an Ultralisk. Very nice, because as you said,
Yep.
without that Ultralisk
And
cavern.
that drop, this drop is not going to stop unless Major doesn't pay attention. He's going to pick up the spawning pool. He might even be able to get the infestation pit as well. Even though Violet is turning around, I think Violet's going to give up. No, he's going to send one lone Ultra to this side of the map. But like you said, he got an Ultra, he got a bunch of Banings, now he's getting tech buildings. This is all fantastic. In such a low eco game, every little pickup is so important.
Yep, Widowmine hits a few. So there's a fungal on some of these Marines. Ultras will kill that quite fast, stepping off the creep. Another 2 really nice fungals locking this army into position. This is exactly
Oh
why
my
it's a
God.
3rd fungal, but the Ultra is not there just yet. And I think these couple chain fungals, this could be the end of Major, Roddy.
No, I don't think it's going to be the end yet. It was definitely very good for Violet, but Major using the mineral patches now as well is going to try to get out of there with as many SCVs as possible. The Orbiter will lift up. There is no anti-air. A couple of Infested Terror. Oh, that's another fantastic fungal there.
Oh.
Wow. Infestors were a pretty good choice, Nate.
I don't know if he can replace these forces. This is a tough spot. Major's broke. He's out of money. He's no longer mining any resources.
Wow.
He's picked up another spawning pool, so Violet has resources. He just can't spend them. And the only tech structure he has left is the Spire, so 5 more mutas.
Yeah, very smart over here by Violet. I mean, he has the only thing he can build is arm mutalisks, but it's actually very smart to get a bunch of mutalisks now, so he can finally chase down these medevacs, and then he can start attacking as well, as he won't be just be running all over the place trying to deal with this little hit squad. Look at these Marines. They're like, we can kill the Ultra. Like, no, we can't.
No.
They just listen to like some great motivational speech. They're like, yes, that's right, we can do this.
This is all Major has left.
Oh.
Just he has 1 orbital at that 3rd base that's going to float to the top left, and that's it.
What a sick game. This was an absolutely phenomenal game, and I really thought Major had it in the bag, but Violet made that one engagement really count. Banelings on top of fungal growth, with the Ultras getting nice and close as well. That was just phenomenal.
And now that there are mutas, there's no more just poking and flying away. The mutas will chase down this very small force that Major has, and 1 orbital command, 3 mules. It could be the title of a movie, Roddy.
What kind of movie?
I don't know, some sort of great comeback story. In my heart, it would be. For the Zerg player, it would be a comedy.
That was funny. 71 army supply for Violet against only 25 for Major. Violet is not aware that Major is mining off this base on the left top side of the map right now. He might just think that he's going to try to re-establish that base on the right side. He's going to find it out real soon.
Yeah, this drone's going to walk up and be like, no, seat's taken. Sorry about that.
And he's probably going to be like, that is funny. This is a comedy. What makes you think you can defend that base? Funny guy.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to think of, like, as a Zerg player, I'm sure there are many Zerg players that could attest to this. It's got to be somewhat possible to throw this game at this point for Violet, and I think just edge forward with the creep. He does want to mine out the rest of that base. He's taking the hatchery in the top right, and don't press the issue too much, because once you step off creep, those infestors are a lot slower. The Ultralisks can be kited by the Marauders, and as weak as this army is, it can be exceedingly cost-effective with how much medevac energy there is.
Of course, Violet doesn't have the same map vision as we have. If Violet would see what we see, then he would probably just go for it. But
Yeah.
for all he knows, Major still had a little bit of money left in the bank, and he's been pumping out Marines 10, 12 at a time. He wants to make sure that if he gets an engagement, it's an army that he can crush. And other than that, he's just going to sit back, and he's like, you know what, I have creep on creep. I'm definitely not going to lose. I want to make sure that you don't have way more than I think you have.
Yeah, you know, it's a tough spot, and you're just building like 1 Marine, 1 Marauder. This looks like the production tab of the early game. I mean, at this point, like there's such little money left, and this army just does. I mean, if he fights the planetary with building armor, like that's as much firepower as he's gonna get at it on.
There's really no need at all to ever attack this. It's like, I can fight everywhere. Let's
You
fight.
are defending nothing but a couple of missile turrets.
Hey, there is actually a lot of gas left. Maybe viOLet really wants to take out this base so he can start mining the gas.
Yeah.
There's like 5,000 gas.
Yeah, MajOr hasn't taken the gas at any of these outward expansions. There's actually still a fresh geyser at where his third base was. I think it's a bit late for the Raven switch, though.
Yeah. But viOLet's probably like more infested. I want that base. Gonna end up losing all of his munas. I don't think it's gonna happen. viOLet's playing it out very safe. He's even going back to making a few drones as well. Despite him being on 41 drones, he wants to get the 2-base saturation going, Nate. The 50-minute mark.
The 50-minute mark, 2-base saturation. viOLet's played this out very patiently. MajOr, he's gonna poke. I guess you might as well try to take this fight to PF as you can, if you can, as a Terran player.
Yeah.
I mean, he could probably just attack click behind the production in the main base, and I don't think he could be stopped. Maybe land 1 or 2 fungals to
But of course,
guarantee.
if viOLet goes into the main, like that is a little tricky because do you really want to go up that ramp? Because then going down the ramp could actually be kind of tricky again. I mean, I still think it doesn't really matter how viOLet goes at this, and he should be fine. But you want to be careful. You don't want to have your units stream down that ramp one by one and all be picked off. You see 3 more Broodlords being morphed now, actually on top of all the production facilities. That's pretty smart.
Yeah, the thing is, there's as long as there's... Oh, that Mutalisk gets picked off.
The Marines!
There's actually no more
Really?
Corruptors on the map.
Look at these 3 Marines in the main, Nate. They're going ham.
These guys are actually heroes. They killed a building Broodlord.
They killed the building Broodlord.
Oh, number
They're going to get
2.
the second one as well. Broodlord number 3.
This is the most needlessly cost-ineffective fight I've ever seen.
Bunch of infested Terrans are going to ruin this Marine party for now, but MajOr is going to re-rally his rally points. So he makes damn sure that the 1 Marine at a time will live a little longer.
Yeah, so the Ultras and Zerglings try to break into the main
MajOr
base.
is
These
stepping on. Look at all
infestors-
the infested. Oh my god, I mean...
Yeah, thing is, MajOr, because of those Broodlords that were built, there's actually no
Jukes.
there's no flying units left. So if he could somehow kill everything, then maybe you can force the most awkward draw ever. But he's got drones, he still has hatcheries, it's not enough. GG,
Wow.
and viOLet wins just 8 minutes shy of an hour-long mark.
A phenomenal game 1 over here in WCS America Premier League round of 16. Just our very first map of the day between viOLet and MajOr. And if the rest of the day is going to be half as good as this map, we're going to have a good time.
Yeah, we're going to have a long good time. That was definitely a slugfest, if there ever was one. And I think, you know, I don't want to be a guy that's like, hey, I figured this would be a close match, but I didn't think it would be that close. Neither of these players were able to gain ground for the majority of that game until that final fight, as you mentioned, where you get a couple of fungals, even off creep, and Ultraless Baneling, they can kill Marines and Marauders very fast.
Yeah, MajOr was in a really good position in that phase in the game. He was outmining viOLet. viOLet wasn't able to, you know, he didn't even have any anti-air anymore. So this one drop in the main was already super annoying, took out his infrastructure. But he had one fight and he definitely made those fungals count. He had 2 fungals on every single infested by the time he finally committed to the fight. That of course helps, even a few infested Terrans being spawned as well. And the Banelings connecting with Marines that are currently being fungled. Well, that is one of the most beautiful things in the game if you're a Zerg player.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things when I look at that game and how it played out, and you mentioned this very early on, is MajOr only had 1 starport. And yeah, he killed all the Broodlords, and we can talk about, hey, that one Viking killed 3 on his own. But if MajOr had, you know, 14 Vikings instead of that initial like 6 or 5 that the Mutalisks were able to kill, if MajOr doesn't lose his right side base as early as he lost it, I think he has enough momentum to probably just counterattack and kill him, because he can't just switch between Broodlord and Ultraless that fast unless he can buy time. And MajOr playing off just 1 starport slowed him down, allowed him, because he was actually ahead in the resources lost for quite a while until that Broodlord push came, because yeah, he held it, but you know, it came at a high price.
Definitely super interesting or super fun to theorycraft about, because yes, MajOr, obviously that was a decision that he consciously made. Like, he could have dropped the 2nd starport. He just felt that he didn't need it in that phase in the game. And, you know, of course, we should never question MajOr when it comes to TVZ in that phase in the game. But what would have happened? As we are just trying to figure out the lobbies real quick, but it seems like Nate is on top of things. As the second map will be played on Habitation Station, what would have happened if, instead of like just having barely enough Vikings to push the Broodlords back and not die, what if he would have had enough Vikings to push viOLet back instead and actually like move forward? Because on the ground, MajOr was way stronger in that phase in the game. The only reason why he couldn't really fight those few Broodlords, and seriously not more than a handful of Banelings, was because of those Broodlords, and he had nothing to take those Broodlords out.
Yeah. If you try to run right under Broodlords, and you know, it was one of those cool things that you sometimes saw, because you know, Broodlords don't happen a lot in Heart of the Swarm, but in Wings of Liberty, if the Terran player was able to win a convincing ground fight, and you could get, you know, 30, 40 Marines under 10 Broodlords, you could actually kill them before the Marines would die if you have a couple medevacs to give support. But in this situation, as long as you have a couple of Banelings, the Marines, the last thing they want to do is run under there.
Either way, that was fantastic. That was a lot of fun. And game number 2 is going to be played on Habitation Station as viOLet is ready. MajOr is ready as well. As we're going to fire this one up. What do you think we're going to see from MajOr? I mean, you could say that he doesn't have to change anything because he definitely just proved that he has what it takes to play a long, drawn-out game against someone as good as viOLet. But if there's one map where I feel that MajOr perhaps has something special planned, is going to do something a little different, it has to be Habitation.
Yeah, this is a map where we've seen lots of Terran players use that gold base, and it's gone in and out of style over the course of the map's lifespan. But more and more Terran players are actually liking to use that ability to just lift off at the start of the game. And well, we have loaded into the game. I can see on my mini map he's not going to lift off.
Not yet.
He hasn't booked any flights today.
MajOr doesn't fly. MajOr doesn't fly during the day. I thought you know that.
We fly by night.
Either way, over here on the left top side of the map, our Red Zerg player currently living in Atlanta, played phenomenal on Overgrowth. Give it up for viOLet.
And that game was so long, almost forgot the awesome sound of the crowd cheering, huh?
The slow claps, that's what it's all.
Slow claps are
If you
real,
guys
man.
keep doing this, then all of our games are going to be phenomenal today.
That's the magic. It's the crowd, man.
All right, well then.
Giving us the power, and they need to give this guy the power to bring this series back. Our Mexican Terran player in the top right, sporting blue from Root Gaming. It is MajOr. And this is definitely one of those maps, like you said, Roddy, where things can get a little bit interesting. When I look at this map, usually I always like the defending player because that natural ramp, it's very uninviting. You have a steep way to go. It's very close to the hatchery. Queens can sit very close to that base when they're attempting to defend. And if you put a couple evolution chambers there, most early Hellion pressure or Hellbat pressure is relatively easy to thwart. So I'm expecting maybe a bit more of a drawn-out game. It's not a bad map for things like Banshees or even Hellbat drops. But maybe if I was going to go for any type of aggressive play, this is not a bad Roach map, though.
What about a good old bomber, Marine tank?
I don't think MajOr subscribes to that philosophy. That's a bit much.
Wasn't it like it's so much fun? We're watching the same matchup. We've casted so many TVZs over the last 2 weeks. It's almost insane. I don't think I've ever casted that many TVZs. But it's so fun to see the styles being played out so extremely different from Terran to Terran to Terran. Like Bomber is showing us basically a completely different matchup. He does not scout, doesn't really do anything, sits back. Then we have MajOr who like plays a little bit more straight up. Later on we're gonna have Tasia who's definitely going to switch things up again. Then we see Polt almost changing his style up every single series that he's playing. It's been really a lot of fun to watch this matchup. I wouldn't say evolve because that might be slightly exaggerating, but just to see so many diverse playstyles being used in this matchup.
Yeah, the coolest thing about Terran versus Zerg right now is that there's not really like this 100% comfortable space because, you know, some Terran players will say they don't like the matchup a lot and they try to take things into their own hands, and that's what's caused so many different styles. Everyone's looking like, what is going to be, you know, the next, I guess you said like Marine tank. What's the next staple strategy that everybody can go for? And it's been a lot of this Marine Marauder, more so Marauder heavy lately with Widow Mines. But as you mentioned, it's cool because you have players like Bomber that say, I don't even need Widow Mines. I'll just go mass Marine Marauder and just march across the map all day.
Well, we definitely learned that Bomber is a special one. It's going to be a lot of fun watching him play on the weekend of the 5th and 6th. But of course it would be super fun to see either of these two players make it as well. MajOr is actually playing with fire with his Reaper. He almost got surrounded. Of course there are not many ways out of Habitation Station. You have to pretty much go down the ramp unless you want to go behind the natural, but that's also very tricky. But he did get a great scout of Nate, and he did see that no extractors were taken yet in the main base of viOLet. So, you know, if MajOr had questions about that, well, those questions have been answered.
Yeah, and MajOr's build back home is reminiscent of, you know, we kind of joked about this earlier in the season, the build, lots of these Hellbat openings, and it definitely has the makings that the only thing he does not have is the second gas in his main base, and this Overlord's been keeping its eye very, very aware of that, but I still think it's a good, 3 command center build into Hellions. So he just wants to deny scouting.
Are we expecting Roach Hydra over here from viOLet? Is that what we're looking at? Or just 1-1 Roaches?
From a gasless opening like this, this is the best way to open up if you want to go for the 1-1 Roach attack, and I really like it on this map.
And we know viOLet likes it.
Yeah, we've seen viOLet bust it out on several occasions, and MajOr is actually going for more of a catapult-esque opening for this faster starport. The tech lab, we could still see potentially Banshees or Stim. It's about, it's mostly about those Marines that are patrolling around the edge of his base that are going to make this work, because viOLet does not know what's coming his way.
Look at these two little Marines over here in the middle of the map. Going to try to snipe this Overlord. Won't get it yet, but might actually be able to get it eventually.
Yeah, some questing adventurers here trying to find an Overlord to kill, and these Zerglings backup has arrived.
The reinforcements. We see that the layer is being fired up now as well. Two aliens actually going to try to survive these Marines. Man, this is a story on its own. Well, unfortunately, one Marine does fall, but the good guy does survive in the end.
He called in the Batmobile. He's safe. He made it out. He made it out all right, Roddy.
Yes, he did.
Well, I mean, he's kind of close to dying, but, he's okay. Banshee's on the way for MajOr behind this, and no cloak from the Terran player, so just wants to get this to put on a little bit of pressure. And this would actually alleviate a little bit of roach pain if he can stay active on the map, because he'll see any roaches that spawn. And, well, we talked about this just a few moments ago, Roddy. The layer's about to complete. It's going to line up well with this Roach Warren and 2 evolution chambers. With this Spine Crawler going up to stop Hellions from running by, I'm pretty certain this is going to be that 1-1 Roach timing.
But I do feel that MajOr has an excellent read on whatever is going on. He has scouted everything pretty much from start to finish. Those Hellions just picked up the ramp, but he did see it. He throws down 2 E-Bays though, and now I'm a little bit worried because those E-Bays could have been Rexes as well. He's not going to have a whole lot of production, and we all know when you play against a build like this, getting as many units out as soon as possible is what you need. Because even if you throw down 3 bunkers, if you can't fill up those bunkers, then what are you going to do with it?
Not much, that's what. And these Hellions are... if they can confirm that the roaches are in fact coming out, because, you usually don't put a Baneling Nest in that front wall position, so you'd say, okay, 2 of those have to be evolution chambers, but, is that really a Roach Warren? Is it just a defensive Roach Warren? This Banshee should be able to see some units pop out, but the roaches are, actually, he's going to build another wave of drones first, so he really wants to secure this 3rd first. That is interesting. This attack's going to come a little bit later, which might allow these engineering bays to get a bit more use. However, now he sees roaches. Still a defensive number, but maybe MajOr's got an idea of what's coming his way.
Yeah, and we all know that viOLet often does this as well. Like, he makes a bunch of roaches, then he goes back to drones, then suddenly he makes even more roaches than we thought he was going to make in the first place. So you never really know. And I must say, I love viOLet's Roach Hydro play against Polt at MLG Anaheim, the game that they played on Frost. I thought it was a phenomenal game, even though viOLet wasn't able to win it in the long run, but it had nothing to do with the opening and the playstyle that he went for in the start, because he put himself in a very, very good position. So we know that he's capable of executing this at pretty much the highest level, and this is going to be tough for MajOr.
Yeah, this is one of those types of attacks that we can say, oh yeah, he took a 3rd base, but he doesn't have gas there. That's just a gold base that's going to allow him to power out a crazy amount of roaches. And MajOr does not have a crazy amount of defense at his natural. He's moving into siege tanks now, but siege tanks are slow. The only thing that's nice is this map is small enough to help.
And meanwhile, a bunch of Hellions is just going to drive into the main base. I'm not sure how much I agree with this, but then again, they're not that useful anymore in this phase in the game. If he gets a couple of drones so far, excellent splitting though by viOLet. Man, viOLet has been really on the money so far. That is phenomenal. They had 5 Hellions in his main base, and he lost a grand total of maybe like 4 additional workers, as only 6 drones have died throughout the entire game. Very well done there by viOLet.
Yeah,
that could have gone so much worse.
That could have been a lot worse for the Zerg player. He starts up his 2-2. He's still ahead on upgrades of MajOr, who has yet to complete his 1-1 upgrades. And MajOr going for the gold base is going to spread himself out very thin with these highly mobile roaches, since they have that speed upgrade. And I like this. If you can fight these roaches in little segregated packs like this, then they're not very strong unless they're in one big core.
Nope, this is definitely great news. The other roaches are trapped as well. They don't even have Dolan and Claws yet, so viOLet playing with a little bit of fire will get out of there in the nick of time.
Yeah, this I think MajOr has enough out here to contest this roach count. He needs to get a lot more forces, viOLet, if he wants to push this back. And that gold base is going to help MajOr out so much, because look at these medevacs. He killed a lot of overlords earlier. viOLet will not be immediately aware of these drops headed towards him.
Hydroless Den is on the production tab, but it's definitely not ready yet. And with only a single queen in the main base, and there is a spore, but that could definitely be very annoying to deal with. At the same time, MajOr is once again cleaning out creep tumors in the middle of the map. That Banshee is doing some work, by the way. Do you feel it's a Melinda, or is it not the other Melinda?
It takes a lot to qualify a Banshee as Melinda. It's done a lot of damage, but it's only killed 4
Wow,
roaches.
these roaches are going to be relatively trapped. I'm not sure if viOLet is underestimating this Terran force over here, but there is a lot of damage in damage output in that little army of MajOr, especially with the Banshee there, with that tank, and at the same time MajOr is dropping the main base as well. I feel this is going really well for a Mexican Terran player.
Yeah, he's lost a few SCVs at the cost of clearing out this whole roach army. He's gotten in that main base and done a ton of damage. Yeah, Hydra's is going to pop out, but he's lost a lot of mining, he's lost a good number of drones, and MajOr, at the very least, he has a very clear idea of where viOLet's trying to take this game.
Yep, killed 13 additional workers and picked off a crazy amount of roaches, all for the cost of just a handful of SCVs here and there and a few bio units. I think that was a phenomenal trade for MajOr.
One really important thing to note, though, is that MajOr has... Okay, he starts it up now. He's forgotten combat shields. So if he has to fight versus Hydralisks, that's one less hit the Hydras are going to need to kill those Marines off. And with how weak Marines are, that makes them basically like shredding paper.
viOLet is producing nothing but units right now, and he lost so many workers that he's only on 49 drones. The Zerg player that's producing nothing but units of 49 drones is basically putting himself in a crazy all-in scenario now. He wants to absolutely crush MajOr in the next fight. If MajOr hangs in there, if MajOr defends this 2-2 push while he's on 1-1 upgrades and doesn't have combat shield, but if he defends, he's going to be in a phenomenal position, / he will win the game.
Yeah, he needs to abuse the one advantage he has, and that's a lack of mobile anti-air for viOLet as he's pushing in towards MajOr's natural. He's attacking MajOr's third base, but MajOr has that drop at the gold. He's managed to stop a lot of the mining. If MajOr can hold on, he still has something of a chance, but the damage output is so high from this army that bunker dies instantly. SCV is going to fight Hydralisk. Man, that's not a fight you want to take.
I still think it's enough, though, for MajOr, as during this he's doing more and more economic damage. Yes, he's losing a lot of SCVs, but he has orbital commands. He's down 9 workers, but with 3 orbitals, normally you'd say that's okay. Can't afford to lose his orbital, though, which is going to be burning down, and I guess Hydras are going to try to pick it up. But so far, MajOr is hanging in there, and army supply-wise, well, he's down a little bit, but I think it's something he could work with if only he had combat shield a little quicker, if only he had 2-2 upgrades already.
Yeah, if those Marines had a little bit more juice. But you know what? The +2 upgrades are completing for MajOr. He's got his +2 attack. These roaches are going to die much more quickly. And as you said, if you keep that third orbital command alive, you've got a lot of mules that can come from
I mean, like, how many roaches in Hydra? Well, actually, I shouldn't ask that. A lot. You can produce a lot of roaches from 41 drones. Who am I kidding, Nate?
Roaches,
but not that whole many Hydras. Hydras are a little more expensive. Roaches on the other end, 2 bases, 41 drones. Yes, you can produce a lot of roaches.
Yeah, this is definitely a scary army to have to fight because you don't have siege tanks. MajOr is relying that
he really
has
wants to get that orbital.
Yeah, he wants to snipe this orbital command. This is a bold move. There's not a lot of Hydras to actually finish this off, and suddenly his whole army is trapped. MajOr stepping up to fight against this. There is not enough. Those queens are trying to reinforce, but they are very slow units indeed. The first army's cleaned up. viOLet does not have enough in this reinforcing wave to stop MajOr's army, and I think this push was a bit too ambitious. GG's called. MajOr ties the series 1-1.
Great series so far, and during all this we also had the Banshee picking away at that hatchery. So in the end, Nate, you know, he definitely did some work. He put in the effort. Great series. We're going to get ready for game number 3, which is going to be played on King Sejong, I believe.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes. King Sejong Station. Definitely an awesome map for Terran versus Zerg. But man, MajOr, that's one of those games where, you know, as a Terran player, you get into this awkward position where it's like, if you don't have tanks and the Zerg player has more roaches and hydras than you have bio, like if they have enough to beat you, there's very little that you can do. It's not like Micring versus Banelings where you can try to split your units. You either have to make enough units to overwhelm it or catch him in a really bad position like he did at that gold base. And I think MajOr did a really nice job of handling the way that occurred. And that drop at the gold base to shut that down, because it also cuts a lot of the larva production, is another really, really nice thing that he did to secure that game.
And of course, multiple waves of harassment went prior to that, where first, you know, the Hellions, it seemed like viOLet handled that pretty well, only losing 6 workers, but the next drop in the main base did a lot more work, and suddenly we're looking at like a Zerg play that lost 18, 19 drones, and that is not a Zerg play that's on 4 hatcheries with a macro hatch out there as well that's able to reproduce those workers. No, that's a Zerg play that wants to use his larva for roaches and hydras when his 2-2 upgrades are ready. This is, of course, the final moments of that last game. Questionable decision there by viOLet to run up that ramp. Perhaps thought he did more economic damage than he really did. Because, yeah, needless to say, there was a little too much Terran to handle over here.
Yeah, even if if you waited just a little bit longer, those transfuses might have given him an edge. I still liked MajOr's position either way, but this third game, man, this is still a really cool game so far we've had in the last 2 days of StarCraft. Zerg players that have built roaches and not win on those maps. Oh no.
That is right, Nick. What's happening?
Hashtag ESPN stats. That's what I want to see. Hashtag WCS. Give us your most random stats that don't make any sense but still kind of work. Just phrase them, right? It's all about the framing.
I mean, yeah. Well, we've been throwing a couple out there.
Yeah.
We had a couple of very irrelevant stats so far.
I think the internet would be really good at giving us some stats like that.
That just make no sense at all. Hashtag WCS, keep them coming. And we are going to use them as well. We are going to plug your tweets on the broadcast. Just keep those stats coming, man.
Yeah.
Because there's always something happening for the first time ever, Nate.
That's true. What an awesome first series of the day this has been. It's tied 1 apiece, guys. We're loaded in to King Sejong Station, and it's time to see who will be the first player to take a match here in the final group of the round of 16. Spawning in the top left position, we have the slow clap going for our red Zerg player representing the CSN agency. It is viOLet. And he has shown us one hell of a series so far today. And his opponent, likewise, in the bottom right, the Mexican Terran player sporting blue from Root Gaming. It is MajOr. This series doesn't get you hyped up for StarCraft. I don't know what will.
Shout out as well to DJ Helium, who said that once more MajOr shows that he is a force to be reckoned with. I feel like we've heard that sentence before, Nate. I'm not really sure where it comes from there.
Maybe once or twice. It's like an old movie reference, perhaps.
A terrible one, if that's the case. Either way, it's going to be really fun. For Game 1 on Overgrowth was phenomenal, and I definitely think that this game is shaping up to be perhaps a little similar. You know, it's not going to be easy for either player to just win a fight and roll across the map and win. It's a pretty large map, a lot of bases on their side as well. I'm not expecting viOLet once more to play Roaches and Hydras, as I think he had plenty of success with his playstyle earlier.
Yeah, this is one of those cool maps that also open a lot of different options, because it's not bad for that Roach Hydra play. It's not bad for really anything. I think when I look at this season's map pool, and I look at maps especially that are going into the pool for next season, King Sejong Station just opens up so many interesting options with its layout that it's, you know, even players like Bomber showing us different ways to play on it. Like he took that third base on the right side against a Zerg player. It doesn't make any sense, but you know, Terrans, they're crazy sometimes.
They are crazy. I'm sitting next to one.
Yeah, how crazy is that? There's any of us left. Reaper's on the way for MajOr, and I wouldn't be surprised if he did what he did last game, like if he goes Reaper into Reactor quickly. But this I'd say is a better Reaper map than Habitation Station, so you can definitely get away with just going for more heavy harass like on Overgrowth.
But even in Game 1 on Overgrowth, he definitely kept his Reapers around for the longest time, did some work, picked off a drone, did some damage on the Queens, denied a creep tumor, picked off a bunch of Zerglings, and he kept them alive up to the point where the Hellions were joining in the fray and they started cruising around. One time viOLet tried to counterattack with Zerglings, picked off a few SCVs, but didn't really break through. And at the same time, on the other side of the map, MajOr was cleaning up big waves of Zerglings. Now, of course, that was such a long game that eventually that didn't have an impact on how the game shaped up. But those were all small little victories in the early stage in the game, and that's what he's going to have to be looking for once more.
Yeah, this is an opportunity now to see what's going on. He's going to spot this gas, which is very important for MajOr because it tells him right off the bat, since it's not a gasless opening, he's much less likely to be going up against a similar build to the last map, that 1-1 Roach timing. Usually you don't want to make the early investment into any level of tech because you need to save up all your money to get your mid game really, really strong.
We didn't even really talk about that, as this Reaper, of course, is having his little dance with the Lynx and tries to pick off as many as possible. There are 3 very low HP Lynx. He's going to get one of them for now. Do you think if viOLet would have gone all out with the 1-1 Roaches, do you think that the MajOr had enough to deal with that? I would have been really worried with the opening that he chose for, especially with those 2 E-bays before any additional production facilities. I think it would have been very hard for MajOr.
Yeah, I don't think viOLet actually had full vision of MajOr's base because he didn't really have more than just that one bunker. Maybe it could have worked, and I guess we could theorycraft for a while, but if you're viOLet and there's a Banshee poking your Roaches for a solid 3 minutes, like, maybe the Terran player has enough to survive.
This is really weird, by the way. viOLet stopped mining gas at 96 gas. He pulled away all the drones from his extractor, and now he's not starting speed yet. You know, Nate? This is definitely the first time that I've seen the good old 96 mine gas timing open up with the extractor, but then not research speed.
And then build another extractor.
And do this on King Sejong Station against MajOr. That has never happened before in the history of StarCraft 2.
This is history right here. The Reaper dies.
How confused do you think that MajOr is if he clicks on the extractor and he sees 2404?
You know, the sign is if it's at, like, if you look at it, if you're a Terran player, if you ever scout gas and you click it, Zerg players usually mine a little extra gas. Like, oh, there's 23. He's definitely got 100. But
okay, now MajOr goes. Now viOLet goes back. He starts mining up both extractors at the same time. Fires up layer.
Okay.
Do you think that he's aware of the fact that he doesn't have no Zergling speed? Because I really don't think that viOLet is aware. I think viOLet thinks that he researched speed all along.
The thing is, viOLet's build, you know, for however confusing it may be, it's still not bad versus what MajOr's doing. Because You know, if you ask me, when you look at this, it looks okay. 2 evolution chambers. Roach won't. Okay, I guess he actually does want to go for roaches again. But I was gonna say it looks like a 2-base.
It could also be improv over here, that he just perhaps now realized that he doesn't have Zergling
He's
speed.
freestyling.
Yeah. It's like, all right, I'm just going to roll with it. This was part of my plan all along. Of course, you know, with the gas that he mined, he did get a quicker layer. But even then, it makes no sense at all not to mine 100 immediately. You know, why mine 96 and give MajOr the information that you did indeed not research Zergling speed?
Yeah, it seems just obscure enough that MajOr... I'd be surprised if he actually noticed. But
Nah,
he's been
MajOr
continuously putting out Banshees too.
You're a 10 player. What's the first thing you do? If you send that Reaper in on a suicide mission into the main base, the first thing you do is you want to make sure how much gas there has been mined.
The most confusing part would have been that there was the speed, you didn't see the speed going, because it would have meant that it was already done to have that gas. But
either way, a little bit of a skirmish going on over here as well. Haha, home Surrey Cup reference. As these queens are doing a good job in pushing these Hellions back and dealing quite a bit of damage on that Banshee.
there are a lot of queens. That's a very good point. I think
Ro16.
I don't know if it needs to be Nidus. Like this map, we've seen viOLet actually on this map before make the big Roach play work, right? Wasn't it? In the IM qualifier against QXC?
That he goes through the debris as well.
Yeah, he went through the debris in the back of the natural. He's like, oh, you built 5 bunkers on one side. Well, ha! Coming the other way. These Banshees, though, they will be very important for any defense of such an attack.
Double eBay is going to be the follow-up for MajOr once more, and now throws down 2 additional Rexes. You're going to have to love MajOr's positioning. He's only down 6 workers, but he has his 3rd orbital on the way. He has Banshees out, so these Roaches, they don't really pose a serious threat on the other side of the map, because it's not like slow Queens are going to march across the map to complement these Roaches and providing some anti-air. That is not what's going to happen, so I'm very surprised with how this has played out so far. I kind of like MajOr's position, to be honest, Nate.
Yeah, this is definitely not bad. The Banshees give a lot of utility, and as long as MajOr stays active with the Hellions, then he shouldn't have any difficulty at all seeing this attack coming. But there he sees the Roaches, and he's like, that's not 4 Roaches. That's a lot of Roaches. This looks like a committed attack from viOLet, and he has to take this seriously.
Yeah, he has 17 Roaches. Immediately MajOr fires up a Marauder and a Siege Tank as well. But with these 2 Banshees, the Banshees are flying into the right direction. They're going to high-five these Roaches. Not that. MajOr's vision is... okay, yeah, something... What? Yes, Zelnag Watchtower. Man, the Zelnag Watchtowers are good. Binoculars, man. Awesome.
Not that good, though. This is definitely going to hurt him. Oh, the Hellion's actually going to run into the natural, and this is nice. He's getting a few more drones, I think, than he got in the last game, and with just this little bit of pressure going, actually still the same amount, huh? But I think it's nice because he wants to disrupt viOLet's
the
setup.
SCVs are being pulled in time. Eventually this bunker will fall, but it brought a little bit of time there.
The Banshees are coming back, trying to move
This
faster.
is not enough Roaches, though. Like, yes, they get a couple of SCVs here and there, but this is not going to kill MajOr, not very long.
There's a tank on the high ground. That tank is a real hero here. He could have lost all those SCVs trying to defend against this, and those Banshees... Man, that tank had 5 kills. Actually, I didn't even see that tank. I thought this actually had a chance at killing MajOr.
No.
Silly me. I doubted him.
He fired up a tank and a Marauder immediately when he saw all those Roaches. Banshees were a little late to party, but the good thing is that there is no Spire, there is no Hydralisk yet. So these 2 Banshees can be very annoying for a while. They also have Cloak. There is no Spore Crawler, by the way, on this topside base, and there is not a single... Oh, and there's one overseer. Where is it? It's in the natural. These 2 Banshees can kill 10-15 drones in the blink of an eye, and that could be very annoying for viOLet to deal with. Especially because right now he needs to re-establish his economy. MajOr has to go for the middle line, though.
Yeah, I really like the amount of pressure these Banshees are doing because on top of everything, there's no Spire, which
he can
means...
actually win this fight, but yeah, I mean, Hydras are on the way.
Yeah.
That's a shame. He really could have done some serious work there on the drone line, forcing viOLet to pull the workers or at least pick up 5, 6, 7.
This Viking's actually been doing some nice work too, though. This Viking's been getting kills.
He's taking notes of both.
Boom. 3 kills so far. I feel like there was more than that, but these Queen, yeah, 2 Banshees. 2 Banshees are pretty good versus Queen straight up. The Hydras, they didn't have range yet actually.
You saw that guy who's like leaning on the edge. He's like, normally I can do this. There's a big drop unfolding in the main base now, and most of the units from viOLet are a little bit out of position as they are actually on the low ground of the natural. Stim is ready, so now a few more drones will fall, and at the same time viOLet is marching units across the map on the other side. We all know how tricky it can be with Roaches and Hydras to defend against drops, especially if you lost a bunch of Queens already.
Yeah, MajOr's moving over towards the right side once again.
That fort base is dead.
This time he has a reasonably timed combat shield upgrade, so I think it shouldn't be too hard to take this base out because he still has that drop threatening the left side, and he has to leave a lot of units behind to defend. Oh, flies into Hydralisks. That was close.
But, I mean, viOLet's supply is ridiculous, but we all know that can be a little bit deceiving with Roaches and Hydras. However, if he starts attacking soon, then I'm still a little bit worried for Major. viOLet has 2-2 upgrades as well. Wow, I didn't even notice that. Army supply is currently 110 against 80, which I'm a little bit surprised by. So Major is down 15 workers, while normally Major is one Terran that always overproduces workers. He's going to try to intercept a couple of the reinforcements with that hit squad he has in the middle of the map. Any time that he can buy for himself now is very nice, because he has this army from viOLet is so massive. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He needs time. He needs a lot of time. This drop is so important, because if he can force anything to come back.
Do you feel that Major should try to defend his orbital where he is right now?
I really don't think he can. There's so much open space for these Roaches and Hydras to split around and try to hit these tanks. Yeah, that command center. At this point, the Hydras, is he just clicking on that?
Yeah, but it's going to be repaired as well, so a lot of wasted DPS there from viOLet, and this actually might allow Major to just hang in there long enough. Unfortunately, the tanks did die. A few Hydras remain, but wow, viOLet made a big mistake there.
God.
He didn't use the Hydras.
Defense. I can't believe he pulled that off. That was like,
I mean, he's not there yet.
Yeah, but the fact that he's not losing this third base, this is an attack that the majority of the time will kill a Terran player. So the next wave of reinforcements is here. That command center still under pressure, but that time is should allow Major to finish up his 2-2 upgrades. The biggest problem is I don't know if he can get over to save this third orbital, and that's really what viOLet's looking to kill.
Yep, viOLet is just trading units right now over here, but at the same time there are a few Hydras left behind that are working on that orbital, and in the end it might just barely be enough to snipe this orbital. Great job there by viOLet. He will end up losing the Roaches and the Hydras that he sent to the natural though, but right now he's just in an overwhelming... Actually, there were plenty of Roaches hiding below this medevacs. Didn't even see them, no idea where they came from. It seems like it's going to be enough for viOLet after all, after a very interesting, very cool back and forth series between these two excellent StarCraft players. I think viOLet's going to do it over here, Nate.
viOLet seems to have done it. GG Major. First player knocked to the lower bracket as viOLet takes the first series of the day, and I'd say I am satisfied after a series like that. What a fantastic first best of 3 to kick off our final group.
Yeah, really not much more we could ask for. Such a bizarre way that this game opened as well, with viOLet mining that amount of gas and not really doing anything with it, and following it up with the Roaches, and we really felt that Major had a pretty good read on it. Played awesome, but in the end, viOLet's still making it work. Suddenly you look at the supply tab, and it's always, when people play Roaches and Hydras, it's like, yeah, they're supposed to have a supply lead, but suddenly we're looking at like 182 against 115, and it's like, this could get rather dicey for our Terran.
So the thing is, Major, in a lot of Terran players, you look at how you respond to Roach or Hydralisk-based play. And, if you ask me, I would say, okay, I like siege tanks in a situation like that. Major didn't build a lot of tanks in the second game. And I think viOLet sees that. He's like, well, if I just commit a bit more to the actual push and less to getting up economy or upgrades behind this, I could probably just overwhelm him. And he did a really good job of that, because the drop play this time also didn't do much. Major's first drop on habitation station set him up in a much better position. He killed a queen, a few drones, and viOLet just played a little bit more together and wasn't afraid to commit, as you said, with that just the Roaches. He shut down the natural for a little bit. He didn't kill him with it, but he slowed Major down enough, it seemed, to set up that follow-up much better, especially with those 2-2 upgrades.
I want to ask you as well, how much do you think a difference would have had made if those two Banshees that were heading towards the Queens, and they didn't go for the drones, after that Major parked them at the fort base, at the original fort base from viOLet on the right up side. If he would have sent those Banshees back and helped to defend, do you think that would have made a difference? I mean, obviously Hydras kill Banshees, but a few times he left the Hydras behind, and there were a lot of Roaches, and we all know how much damage two Banshees can push out.
Yeah, Banshees actually, they kill Hydralisks especially really quickly. I had to, I guess at this point, look at the replay to see how close the Overseers were, because with that cloak, it could have helped out a lot. Imagine if he clicks them behind, because his bioforces couldn't get to that third orbital command to save it because there were so many Roaches in the way. But there weren't really a lot of Hydralisks, and maybe, but it's still tricky, because, Banshees are pretty fragile.
But we all know how close it is as well. Like, if Major defends, if Major keeps that orbital alive, just barely, then suddenly he has 2-2 upgrades as well, and we're looking at the same amount of bases for a Terran that's going up against Roach Hydra. Well, the majority of the time, that's a really promising scenario if you're a Terran player. So perhaps Major forgetting those two Banshees in the right upside of the map could have made a difference, but either way, we shouldn't nitpick. That was an awesome series of StarCraft 2.
Yeah, that was an absolutely fantastic first match to kick things off, guys. We got another great match coming up for you next. It's going to be some sweet Terran versus Protoss action. We're going to have Tasia up against Arthur right after this short commercial break. We'll be right back.